Time always lies, but the watch told the truth. It arrived in 1823, clutched in the hands of a shipwright's daughter who swore she'd received it from a woman with her own face, older, wearier, bleeding starlight from a wound that wasn't there. The watch was cold to the touch, its brass tarnished yet unscarred by age, its face etched with a serpent devouring its tail. It didn't tick, it hummed. A sound like a distant supernova. Generations passed it down like a curse disguised as a covenant. The Sorels grew wealthy, brilliant, haunted. They built empires on foresight, as though the watch whispered secrets in their sleep. But secrets, like time, curdle when confined. Children woke screaming of futures that never came. Lovers vanished mid-sentence, erased from family portraits. The watch's bearer always died young, their final words the same. She's coming. She's sorry. By the 24th century, only Dr. Elias Sorel dared study it. He locked himself in an orbital lab, parsing its radiation signatures, its impossible isotopes. His daughter Taryn last saw him the day he recorded a hologram in tears, the watch glowing like a dying star in his hands. It was never ours, he said. We're just echoes. Then he vanished. The watch remained, inert and accusing. It waits now in a vacuum-sealed chamber, serpent eyes gleaming. It knows what Taryn Sorel does not, that some threads, once pulled, unravel more than fabric. They unravel selves. To break the loop is to unspool every birth, every breath, every lie that kept her bloodline breathing. To leave it intact is to feed a machine that gnaws on tomorrows. But the watch is patient. It has already lived her choice. After all, it's been here before. Chapter 1. Rain hissed against the reinforced glass of the orbital lab, droplets smearing the stars into streaks of silver. Taryn Sorel barely noticed. Her breath fogged the cold surface of the isolation chamber as she leaned closer, the watch glinting under the scanner's ultraviolet gaze. It was an unremarkable thing, this heirloom, brass worn smooth by generations of wrists, its face etched with a serpent swallowing its tail. But the radiation signature was impossible. Isotopes that hadn't existed before the 23rd century, nested in a casing dated to 1823. Father's voice surfaced unbidden, a memory of his hands, steady and scarred, closing hers around the watch. Some knots, Taryn, aren't meant to be untied. She'd been 15, furious at his resignation, blind to the shadows under his eyes. Now, a decade after his disappearance, the knot was all she had left. Her gloves creaked as she adjusted the quantum spectrometer. The lab hummed, a symphony of cooling vents and flickering hollow screens. Numbers cascaded, negative decay rates, temporal hysteresis loops. Her pulse thrummed in her temples, a bootstrap paradox. The watch had no origin. It was a snake eating its own tail, her future self gifting it to an ancestor to ensure her own birth. A perfect loop. A cage. The lights dimmed. Taryn froze. Shadows pooled in the corners, thick as oil. The spectrometer's display fizzed static. Not again. She'd dismissed the glitches for weeks. Flickering door sensors, phantom heat signatures, paranoia. She'd told herself, born of sleepless nights chasing ghosts. But now the air tasted metallic, charged. Her hand drifted to the shock pistol in her lab coat. A voice cut through the silence, velvet over steel. Dr. Sorel, you've been busy. He stood in the doorway, backlit by emergency strips, a silhouette armored in black tactical gear, a rifle slung loose across his chest. His face was all angles, stubble grazing a jaw set in casual menace. But his eyes, she'd expected the flat gaze of a hired killer. Instead, they burned sharp and restless, scanning the room like a chessboard. Caden Vorn. She'd seen his face in security bulletins. A freelancer. A ghost. The watch, he said, stepping inside. Hand it over. Quietly. Her fingers tightened around the pistol. You're with the guild. A half smile. They're paying. Doesn't mean I like them. The spectrometer beeped. A shrill, urgent note. Taryn's gaze flicked to the readout, chronometric energy spiking. The watch's serpentine engraving writhed under the UV light. No, not now. Caden followed her glance. Ah, so it's true. He moved closer, boots silent on the grated floor. A temporal artifact. How's it work? She edged toward the control panel. You're a thief. You wouldn't understand. Try me. His voice dropped, almost playful. I've seen things, Doctor. Black holes birthing galaxies. Men aging backward. Whatever you've cooked up here. He tapped the spectrometer. It's quaint. The insult stung, sharpening her focus. Her thumb found the panel's biometric lock. You're blocking my light. He didn't flinch. Last chance. The lab's alarms blared. Red light flooded the room. Caden spun toward the door, rifle rising, but Taryn was already moving. Her palm slammed the lockdown switch. Magnetic seals thudded shut, trapping them both. Clever, he muttered. Not yet. She yanked a cable from the spectrometer. Sparks erupted as she jammed it into the ventilation grid. The watch's isotopes flared, a pulse of gold light that rippled through the air. Time stuttered. Caden's bullet froze mid-air, inches from her thigh. She watched his face contort, rage melting into disbelief as the temporal wave expanded. The lab unraveled, walls peeling into fractal patterns, machines dissolving into quantum foam. Only the watch remained solid, burning in her hand. Father's hologram flickered in the maelstrom. Taryn, if you're seeing this, I failed. The watch isn't a heirloom, it's a chain. Break the loop, and you break our bloodline. But if you don't, Static clawed at his image. They'll use it. Control time. Control everything. The wave collapsed. Reality snapped back, raw and ringing. Caden staggered, catching himself on a terminal. His rifle clattered to the floor. What the hell was that? He rasped. Taryn clutched the watch, its gears whirring against her palm. Proof. Sirens wailed in the distance. Guild forces, breaching the station. He eyed her, recalibrating. You've got 5 minutes before they carve this place apart. Give me the watch, I'll make it quick. Or you die slow. He scooped up his rifle. But you already knew that. Wind howled through a ruptured vent. Papers swirled. Decades of research. Equations describing the indescribable. Taryn saw her father's face in the storm of data. Heard his weary sigh. Some knots. She met Caden's gaze. You want the watch? Take it. She tossed it to him. He caught it reflexively. The moment his skin touched the brass, the room shifted, shadows deepened, the air thickened, pressing down like a vice. What's it doing? He growled. Reading you. She activated her wrist console. It's keyed to my DNA. To my fate. You're not part of the equation. The watch trembled, emitting a low dissonant hum. Caden's arm shook, veins standing rigid. Turn it off. I can't. She entered a final command. The lab's core reactor whined to life. But I can overload the station's gravity anchors. We'll have one path out, the emergency dock. Assuming you don't shoot me. He bared his teeth, still weighing that. The first explosion rocked the lab. Ceiling panels crashed down. Taryn lunged for the door. Caden half a step behind. They raced through collapsing corridors. The watch's hum building to a shriek. Guild soldiers appeared ahead, faceless in onyx armor. Caden fired. Precise bursts that dropped the first two. Left. He barked. She obeyed, ducking into a service shaft. His choices were flawless, instincts meshing with her mental map of the station. They reached the docks as the reactor critical alert blared. Her shuttle loomed, a battered research skiff. Caden shoved her inside. Go. Wait. She hesitated. The watch. It's still. He hurled it at her. Next time, warn me before you toss a time bomb. The shuttle bay doors exploded. A guild gunship surged through the fire. Taryn engaged the thrusters. G-forces slammed them into their seats. As the skiff shot into the void, silence, save for the creak of cooling metal. Taryn stared at the watch in her lap. Its surface shimmered, reflecting distorted starlight. Caden broke the quiet. Your father, he knew, yes. And you're still trying to break the loop. She closed her eyes. Someone has to. He leaned back, studying her. You'll need a better plan. I'll need a soldier, a beat. Soldiers follow orders, Doctor. I don't. The skiff drifted toward the accretion disk of a black hole, its event horizon, a razor's edge of light. Taryn traced the watch's serpent, a knot. But knots could be cut, even if it meant unraveling herself. Chapter 2. The black hole gnawed at the edges of the skiff's viewport, a hungering pupil rimmed with spiraling light. Taryn watched accretion disk plasma curl like burning lace, her reflection ghostly against the void. The Ouroboros Watch lay open on the console, its gears whispering secrets she couldn't parse. She'd spent hours dissecting its mechanics, but every equation dissolved into paradox, negative mass, recursive causality. Her father's holographic warning coiled in her mind. 2 sacrifices, one to break the chain, one to anchor what remained. Caden's boots thudded behind her. He moved like a shadow even in 0G, his presence a low-grade disturbance in the air. She felt his gaze linger on the watch before he drifted to the weapons locker, checking charge levels with monastic focus. They hadn't spoken since the jump. Words felt dangerous here, too close to the event horizon, where time frayed and thoughts stretched thin. The derelict chrono-lab loomed ahead, a skeletal ruin clinging to the black hole's orbit. Its hull was pocked with century-old scars, solar sails torn to spectral ribbons. Taryn's throat tightened. Her father's final transmission had originated here, his voice clawing through static. The loop isn't in the watch, Taryn. It's in us. She initiated docking protocols. The skiff shuddered as magnetic clamps engaged, groaning against the lab's rotting airlock. Cold seeped through the hull, ancient and invasive. Atmosphere's thin, Caden said, pulling on a vac suit. His voice was gravel wrapped in velvet, a sound that shouldn't have been familiar yet was. Radiation spikes near the core. You'll need to move fast. You, not we. She glanced at him. His face was half lit by emergency panels, all sharp edges, and buried fractures. The guild's bounty on her head had tripled since their escape. But he'd stayed, not for the watch, she realized. For the same reason she hadn't jettisoned him into the void, because the darkness here was too absolute to face alone. They breached the airlock. Gravity generators coughed, dropping them onto buckled flooring. The lab's corridors yawned into blackness, studded with bioluminescent fungi that pulsed like dying stars. Taryn's helmet lamp cut through the gloom, revealing walls clawed with equations. Her father's handwriting, temporal recursion coefficients, eigenvalues of paradox. She trailed a gloved finger over the numbers, feeling the ghost of his desperation. He'd known. All those years, he'd known. Caden stiffened. Movement. Left flank. She followed his rifle's beam. A shape scuttled into shadows. Humanoid, but wrong-jointed. Its flesh mottled with crystalline growths. Time sickness. Victims of unstable chrono fields. Their cells unraveling across alternate realities. Her stomach turned. The lab wasn't derelict. It was a tomb with living corpses. Stay close, Caden muttered, stepping in front of her. She almost laughed. Close was all they had. The walls pressed in, breathing decay, the air thick with the ozone stench of decaying time. Every step echoed through years, maybe centuries. They passed a fractured observation deck, its glass overlooking the black hole's maw. Taryn paused, hypnotized. Light bent here, stretched into a shimmering loop, like the watch. A perfect Ouroboros. Sorel. Caden's voice was taut. We're not alone. Guild soldiers materialized from the dark onyx armor swallowing the frail light. Taryn counted 6. No 8. Their rifles hummed, charging plasma coils. Caden shoved her behind a support column. The core. Go. You can't. Go. She ran. The watch burned against her chest, its gears syncing with her pulse. Shots rang out, plasma searing the air. She didn't look back, couldn't. The core chamber lay ahead, its door sealed behind a biometric lock, her father's handprint. She pressed her palm to the scanner, denied. Of course, she was the wrong Sorel, the wrong timeline. Bootsteps pounded behind her. Caden, bleeding from a graze on his temple, dragged a guild soldier in a chokehold. Open it, he growled, forcing the man's hand onto the scanner. The door hissed open. Caden snapped the soldier's neck, gentle as closing a book. The core was a cathedral of madness. Fractal machines spiraled toward a central column, where time itself had crystallized, a glowing amber vortex, its surface reflecting infinite versions of the room. Taryn saw her father at a terminal, young and whole, saw herself as a child, as an old woman, as a scream dissolving into light. Caden staggered, clutching his side, blood seeped through his suit. "You're hit," she said, reaching for him. He batted her hand away. "Focus, do what you came for." The watch trembled in her grip. She approached the vortex, its hum resonating in her bones. This was the origin point. The moment the loop began, her future self had stood here, she realized, forging the watch from paradox and guilt. A terminal flickered. Her father's hologram materialized, haggard and flickering. "Taryn, if you're here, you've chosen truth over survival. The watch requires a dual sacrifice, one to shatter the loop, one to preserve causality. I tried to be both. Failed." His image fractured. The anchor must be someone outside the bloodline, someone unbound. Caden's breath hitched. She turned. He was reading the terminal scroll, face carved in ice. "You knew," he said, quiet, deadly. "No, I swear. It's a bomb. Breaking the loop detonates the chrono core. The anchor dies containing the blast." He laughed, raw and hollow. "That's why you needed me. Not a soldier, a sacrifice." The watch's gears quickened. The vortex pulsed, tendrils of amber light licking the air. "I didn't." The message said 2 sacrifices. "But I thought." "You didn't think." He limped toward her, eyes twin black holes. "You're just like him, so obsessed with your fucking legacy. You'll burn anyone to clean the slate." Her chest cracked. "Caden, wait." A tremor rocked the chamber. The guild was breaking through. He grabbed her arm, fingers digging into her suit. "How do I save my sister?" "What?" "In every timeline, every damn loop, she's gone. Can your watch fix that?" The vortex roared. Taryn's vision splintered. She saw a girl with Caden's eyes, vanishing into static, saw a million permutations, a million losses. "I don't know," she whispered. He released her. "Then we're done." He turned toward the door. Panic spiked. She caught his wrist. "If we don't break the loop, the guild controls time. Your sister stays lost. Everything stays lost." He stilled. The chamber quaked. "You asked why I'm doing this," she said. "It's not for legacy. It's because I saw, in the vortex, generations chained. My father, my children, their children, all trapped. I have to end it." His shoulders tensed. "Even if it kills you?" "Yes." Silence. Then softer. "Even if it kills me?" She had no answer. He faced her. Blood streaked his jaw, but his gaze was steady. "Do it, Caden. Do it." She activated the watch. The vortex erupted. Amber light devoured the room, peeling reality layer by layer. Taryn glimpsed the lab's creation, her future self, gaunt and grief-stricken, forging the watch, saw her father scream as the loop first closed. Caden seized her hand. The anchor point. Now. She plunged the watch into the vortex. The explosion was soundless, beautiful, a supernova in reverse, collapsing into a singular point. Caden shoved her behind a reactor shield. "Stay down." He ran toward the blast. "Caden." He didn't look back. Light swallowed him. Chapter 3. The chrono-lab hung suspended in the black hole's embrace, its skeletal frame groaning under the weight of centuries. Taryn Sorel stood at the edge of the core chamber, the Ouroboros Watch heavy in her hand.
Its gears pulsed like a heartbeat, syncing with the vortex's rhythmic roar. Amber light spilled across the fractured machines, casting jagged shadows that danced like specters. She could almost hear her father's voice in the hum of dying systems, a whisper lost to time. 2 sacrifices, one to sever the loop, one to anchor what remained. The truth coiled around her lungs, tighter than the vacuum beyond the walls. Caden Vorn leaned against a buckled console, his breath shallow, blood seeping through the makeshift bandage at his side. The guild's plasma burn had grazed his ribs, a wound that should have felled a lesser man, but his eyes, sharp, relentless, tracked the shifting light of the vortex. He'd barely spoken since the core chamber, his silence, a language she'd learned to parse, resolve, regret, a flicker of something softer, buried beneath layers of armor. The watch trembled. Taryn's fingers tightened around it, brass biting into her palm. She thought of her ancestor, centuries past, accepting this cursed heirloom from a ghost. Thought of her father, vanishing into the loop's hungry maw. Every Sorel had been a stitch in time's tapestry, threads pulled taut until the pattern frayed. But I am the seamstress now, she told herself, and I will cut the thread. A tremor shuddered through the lab. Dust rained from the ceiling, glinting like fractured stars. Caden pushed off the console, wincing. They're here, guild soldiers. They'd tracked the watch's resonance, their boots echoing through the corpse of the station. Taryn didn't need to see them to feel their approach. The air thickened with the static of charged rifles, the acrid tang of aggression. Caden checked his weapon, the motion fluid, ritualistic. A man stepping into his purpose. The portal, he said, nodding to the vortex. Can you open it? She didn't answer. The terminal's cracked screen flickered, her father's final message frozen mid-sentence. The anchor must be someone unbound. Taryn. She turned. Caden stood closer than she'd realized, his gaze stripping her defenses. Blood smeared his jaw, a stark contrast to his pallor. You know what happens if we fail. The guild rewrites history. My bloodline becomes their puppet. She swallowed. I need 5 minutes. The watch has to sync with the vortex's frequency. He nodded, a soldier accepting orders, but his hand brushed hers as he moved past. A fleeting touch, electric in the charged air. Buy you 10. Then he was gone, swallowed by the lab's arterial corridors. Alone, Taryn faced the vortex. Its light warped her reflection into 100 fractured selves, a child clutching her father's coat, a scientist hunched over scanners, a phantom dissolving into gold. She pressed the watch to the terminal, its gears spitting sparks. The lab system screamed, metal rending as timelines collided. Synchronization, 47%. Shouts erupted down the hall. Plasma fire lit the darkness, strobing blue-white. Taryn's pulse thundered. Faster. The watch's serpent engraving writhed, fangs sinking into its tail. 64%. A scream cut through the chaos. Human. Guttural. Not Caden's. She clung to that certainty. He was a blade in the dark, precise and lethal. She'd seen him move, a dance of instinct and calculation. But even blades dulled. 82%. The vortex surged, tendrils lashing the chamber. Taryn's hair lifted, static weaving through the strands. She thought of Caden's sister, the girl lost to time's eddies. Thought of his voice when he'd spoken of her. Rough, raw, a wound unhealed. He stays for her, always for her. 99%. An explosion rocked the lab. The door blew inward, shrapnel peppering the chamber. Guild soldiers surged through, rifles raised. Taryn spun, shock pistol drawn, but a shadow moved faster. Caden. He carved through them. A storm of violence. Blood slicked his armor, not all of it his. A soldier lunged. Caden disarmed him, snapped his neck. Another fell to a well-placed shot, but they kept coming. A tide of onyx and fury. Caden. Taryn shouted. He glanced back. Their eyes met. A heartbeat stretched thin. The watch chimed, 100%. She plunged it into the vortex. Light erupted, searing and soundless. The lab dissolved, time unraveled, the portal. Taryn fell through a kaleidoscope of moments. She saw her father at the terminal, younger, steadier, his hands trembling, as he recorded the message. Saw herself as a ghostly figure, handing the watch to a wide-eyed ancestor. Keep this safe, the phantom urged. It will save us all. Lies woven with good intentions. The vortex spat her into the chrono-lab's past. Pristine and sterile, the core gleamed, untarnished by decay. Her future self stood across the chamber, gaunt and hollow-eyed, forging the watch from the vortex's heart. The loop's beginning. Taryn stepped forward. Her boots left no imprint. Stop. The future Taryn turned, eyes brimming with grief. You know I can't. You're condemning us. All of us. And you'll condemn them. She gestured to the vortex, where faces flickered. Generations of Sorels, bound to the watch. Without the loop, they never exist. You'd erase them to save yourself. Taryn's throat tightened. To save them from chains. A rumble shook the lab. The guild's shadow loomed. Even here. They're coming. The future Taryn whispered. You know what to do. She thrust the half-formed watch into Taryn's hands. It burned. Alive with paradox. Taryn reached into her suit, retrieving her father's message chip. Not a chain. A key. She pressed the chip into the watch's core. The future Taryn screamed, dissolving into light. The loop fractured. The sacrifice. Reality snapped back, raw and bleeding. Taryn stumbled into the present, the lab collapsing around her. The vortex raged, unmoored, swallowing walls and machinery. Caden stood at the epicenter, arms spread. No, she lunged. He caught her, his grip iron. It's done. You can't. The anchor holds. His voice was calm. Final. Go. She clung to him. There's another way. This is the way. He smiled, faint. Tell my sister. Tell her I tried. He shoved her toward the skiff. The vortex consumed him. The aftermath. Taryn awoke to silence. The memorial was new. A spire of obsidian and starlight. Names etched in silver. Dr. Elias Sorel. Caden Vorn. The watch lay on her nightstand. Inert. Its engraving read. Through time. Together. She stepped onto the balcony. The rebuilt chrono-lab humming below. A figure lingered at the edge of the crowd. A girl with Caden's eyes. Alive. Whole. Taryn's chest ached. She touched the watch. Somewhere, a shadow smiled.